Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mike again, and I thought I'd just share with you a couple more invasion videos. I've got a couple clips here today. These are low-level invasions here. You'll see around soul level 36, I believe, and I've got a few invasions in the Catacombs and here at the, I can never remember the name of this place, the Cathedral of the Deep. The Cathedral of the Deep is an interesting place to invade because it's a very, very big area. And so one of the things you have to be able to learn to do pretty quickly is assess where the host is. Here I can see obviously they've got the shortcut opened up, so it's a pretty good bet that they're further into the level, but sometimes people open the shortcut up, they'll come back into the cathedral, so you just kind of have to keep an eye out. Another thing that really helps is having the game audio turned up, and this is something I really don't do often enough. Having the game audio up give you a lot of oral clues to where the party is. You can hear monsters, you can hear combat, you can hear those sorts of things. So here as I head towards the cathedral itself, I see a few dead enemies here. Assuming they're further in, of course, here I find the party. So the first thing I want to do before I go and greet them, I want to try to get an idea of what the opposition looks like. So I'm kind of just hanging back a little bit here. I believe I have my obscuring ring on. Yeah. And so here I think I probably screwed up a little bit. I probably got too close and the Phantom may well have seen me. So I'm just going to kind of hang back here. I know the next section coming up, there's a number of enemies. They have crossbows. It's probably pure mayhem. So I'm going to let them proceed a little further. But then I noticed one of the Phantoms dies. I thought there were only 2 people to begin with, but there were actually 3. So I thought it was just the host. I came up. Now I realize I have to deal with 2 of them, so I'm just going to run ahead to the next section. I almost fall off the map. So I'm going to try and draw them down here and make sure that I don't get hit with a plunging attack in the process. Another thing I started doing recently is using the crossbow. You can see not my crossbow, but one of the enemies took out the other Phantom. So I haven't really had to do anything yet, and already we're down 2 Phantoms, and we're down to just the host. And the host is rather unwisely, in my view, moving forward into the map, and here I think he comes to his senses and decides to turn around. That section that he was getting ready to head into, it can be very, very difficult when you're by yourself. To say nothing of having an invader on your tail. So I started using the crossbow a lot more in invasions, and I had never really used them before. I didn't use them in duels, I didn't use them in PvE, but I decided to give them a try, and I have to say I am in love with this weapon. Using crossbows, they excel in situations like this where you've got a host or a Phantom and they're on the run and they're trying to evade you, when they're low on Estus and they're trying to break away for a chance to heal, especially if you surprise them with it, if they don't know you have it and you bring it out and you hit them in the back. The exploding bolts do tons of damage, especially at this low level. And there I'm able to kill him with the crossbow bolts. That would have been a much, much more difficult kill without the crossbow. This was a bit of a funny invasion. Here I am in the Catacombs, and perfect timing. I see them headed over the bridge. I free aim a shot, perfect aim. And at first I thought I'd killed the host, but I didn't. I just killed one of the Phantoms. And inexplicably here, I'm not sure what he was doing, but he's heading down. I don't know why he didn't head into the boss area. So I chase him in here, and I'm expecting to see all kinds of fire breath coming up here, and I don't. So it seems like they've already killed the boss here. And he returns my friendly wave. At this point I'm thinking, I just had a couple of invasions prior where I'd really beat up on some hosts that were by themselves. They were really outmatched. So he decides he's going to play nicely with me, and I'm feeling a little bit generous. So rather than fighting him, I decide I'm going to go ahead and leave him some embers. Sometimes I'll leave embers for hosts and then fight them, especially if they're right near a bonfire. I'll do that. Here we're a little bit away from a bonfire. He's being super cool, so I decide, what the hell, I'll just give him the embers, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave him be and black crystal out. So you always want to make sure your crossbow is loaded. That's key, because usually when you need it is when you've got a host furiously panic rolling away from you, close to death, and you don't want to have to stop to reload it. So as a matter of habit, I just always check and make sure I've loaded it before I move into the level. And I'm also trying to learn the catacombs a bit from an invasion perspective. What are the various markers that a host has been one way or another or hasn't? And here you see the mice. Right there, that means the host hasn't been through this way. The ball had not started rolling yet. As I learned, if either the host or an invader comes through this area, it causes the ball to start rolling. And there I see the host, and it looks like he probably fell through that hole in the floor over by the enemies with the Carthus curved swords. So I decide to come down here and find him, furiously panic rolling away. I decided to just let him run by me to get to the bonfire, but I guess it was a little bit too much with all the enemies and the rolling ball. So a couple of invasions where I really just didn't have to do anything at all. It was pretty funny. I'm also trying to be a lot better about swapping out my rings situationally. I keep the Ring of Favor and Protection and Life ring equipped at all times. And then on this low level build, I also keep the Prisoner's Chain, which really only affords me an extra ring slot to play with. Usually it's a swap between the Hornet ring and the Obscuring ring. The Obscuring ring, like the crossbow, is one of those things that I kind of caught on to late. The Obscuring ring is really, really powerful because it lets you kind of creep on a party before they see you. It's especially helpful in situations where they're ganking and maybe you're waiting for reinforcements before you decide to engage the party, because gankers know you will do that and they will aggressively hunt you down to avoid situations where it's maybe 3-on-2 or 4-on-2. They'd much prefer a 3 or 4-on-1. And here I wasn't totally sure. I'd checked to see if the shortcut was down. Here I confirmed for myself that it has not been kicked down yet. So I know they're not going to come up that way. I know they've only got one way they can come up through here, and it's directly ahead. So I hear the giant's arrows firing. I know he's got to be down here. Don't need stealth anymore. Now I need the power of the Hornet ring. And somewhat understandably, the host is in full-on panic mode at this point. He's got a mob after him. He's got an invader after him. I'm just peppering him with explosive bolts. And really, this whole time, he's got a great sword. He really should have been hitting me with some turn and burns, swinging his sword at me. And his downfall was not attempting to attack me. If he had simply swung once and connected with an R1, he certainly would have hit me, would have granted him a follow-up R1. I would have probably had to space out and heal. He could have healed. Would have been much better for him. And this time, obviously, in the cathedral itself, I hear all kinds of chaos up above. I hear the columns being broken. So I decide to send that back down just in case there's a host here. I don't want him doubling back to be able to escape from me, especially if he's got summons. I don't want him to be able to run back and resummon all of his buddies. So just trying to make it just that extra bit more difficult for him to do so. And here we're both quite surprised to see one another. He reacts from his surprise more quickly than I do. And I was not paying sufficient attention to my surroundings here. And unfortunately, the giant's fists are like a lot of environmental hazards in this game, where regardless of whether you're the host or the invader, you're going to take damage. And this guy's actually got some decent PvP skills. He's mixing up his attacks. He's not going exclusively with R1s. He did attack me with probably too many R1s. I could have parried him. There I go for the parry, but nobody's there. Try to break his guard. No avail. And I get him with the wake up panic roll, charged R2. This particular build is really powerful. Nearly all my upgrades are in vigor. I've not really upgraded strength or dex or endurance. This is one of the reasons the prisoner's chainring is so effective and so helpful, and why I never remove it. It also lets me wear some of this heavier armor. Phantoms love to hang out on the other side of these doors and hit invaders when they come through. So you never ever want to trust that there's nobody there. And here I can see that this guy actually seems somewhat enthused about a PvP bout. So I decide to start rolling through, knocking over the chairs so that we can have a nicer area in which to fight. And I see that the host catches on to what I'm doing pretty quickly. He's probably had fights here before, and he starts knocking down chairs too. And these sorts of situations are always interesting too, because there's a certain amount of trust that's involved, that I'm not going to come up behind him while he's doing that, and that he won't come up behind me. And so, you know, anytime if there's a host and they want to have an honor duel rather than a straight up invasion, I'm always willing to grant that. I'd much rather have that than some long drawn out Estus chugging affair or another 3-on-1. So I definitely welcome these respites from getting ganked by tons of phantoms. And so if they want to have that kind of a fight with me, I am more than happy to have it. Of course, there's always the risk that when you get them low on health, they're going to chug. But then they're going to chug anyway, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So here I can see how much he wants to parry me. I baited out and backstab him. Took me a bit to get it. And then the panic rolling charged R2. The only thing you have to be careful of there is a very savvy person may try to parry you on that charged R2. That's one of the reasons I only try to hit them on the roll. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care now. Bye.